Welcome to another edition of the Sewing Guru. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to cut out your adjusted toile so that it's ready to go onto your proper fabric. Now before we do that, I'm just going to run through the things that I've done and the adjustments that I've made to my toile. Because while you were away, I've been looking at my toile and I've just done a few more little adjustments to it, and I've marked on here what I'm going to do. Now in the previous video I did cover that I took in a small amount under the arms here because there was a little bit too much bulk. But what I'm going to do is I'm also going to lower the lapel. So I've marked on here, I'm going to lower the lapel by 2 centimetres. And I'm going to make my lapel wider as well. Okay, I find that this is just a little bit too narrow, so I'm just going to widen it. So I'm going to add on another 2 centimetres to the width as well. Now of course, this 2 centimetre width will be tapered down to here. Okay, so I put here, add 2 centimetres and taper. So it will be tapered down to this position here, where the break of the lapel starts to turn. Now of course, if I'm adjusting the width of the lapel and I'm going to lower it, I've also got to do a small adjustment to the collar part at the top here as well, which of course I'll be showing you how to do and how I'm going to go about it when I'm on the pattern table. Okay, when I've got all this on the pattern table and I can easily show you how I'm going to go about that. Now I'm also going to add 3 centimetres to the width of the waistcoat as well, and I'm also going to add on here the length. Okay, so I put here add 5 centimetres and it's to taper, so we're going to add 5 centimetres and we're going to taper it down. Okay, now I've also written on the side panel and the back that I'm going to add 3 centimetres to my length. Okay, and that's all the adjustments that I've made to my waistcoat. Now there seems to be a lot, but of course when we actually mark that on the toile ready to cut out the fabric panels, it isn't actually that much to do. You're just adding on pieces of the fabric and you're just cutting the normal fabric wider or longer. So it's actually quite an easy task to do. The most tricky part, which is also quite easy really, but the most tricky part is of course the collar, because I've adjusted the lapel here, so I'm going to also have to adjust the collar as well. So now that I've got everything marked on my toile and I know where all of my adjustments are going to be, I'm now ready to take this over to the pattern table and we're going to start cutting this toile and preparing it ready to go onto our actual fabric. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my waistcoat laid out on my pattern table. And the first thing what we need to do is cut the actual pieces of the toile which we've adjusted. Now in my case, the only piece which I need to cut is the side seams here. All of the other seams have been left exactly the same. So the shoulder seams here are exactly the same, and the centre back seam, the dart parts here for our decorative belt, and they're the ones which have all been the same. So we need to cut out the actual adjusted parts where we've adjusted the pins. And of course for me it's on the underarm here, okay, on both sides. So we need to make sure that this is more or less even. Okay, so let's have a look. Now that measures where my pins are 2.5 centimetres, and this measures also 2.5 centimetres. So I know that these are even. So if you say have yours which are not even on either side, you need to make them as even as you can so that they are exactly the same measurement on both sides. When you've done that, then we can start cutting our toile. Now I'm only going to be working with one front panel and half of the back, because of course everything else is a mirror image. So the left and right panels are exactly the same. That's why you've got to get these measurements here exactly the same on either side. So now that I'm happy that mine is the same measurement, I'm going to cut this here. Now you have to remember that there's going to be a seam allowance here, okay? So I'm going to measure, because I always have about 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres seam allowance, so we're just going to mark that. And I know exactly now where we can taper this to. Okay, so we're just going to cut this down. I can follow the line of the pins here and taper this exactly where we need to be. And that's all there is to that part there. We've just tapered that, and we've now adjusted this part of the underarm. So I'm happy with that. We can now start taking all of our toile pieces out. So I'm just going to unpin this like that. Just take all of our pins out. Like so. So we've got our front panel here. Now, as you can see on my front panel here, I've done all of my adjustments in pen here, what I'm going to do on this side only. Because of course, it's exactly the same. The left and right panels are exactly the same. So this is now left blank. So I don't need that side, okay? Because I know that all of my adjustments are on this side, and of course, when you cut your fabric, it's on the fold. So you're cutting out both front panels in one go with that. So we only need one side of the front and of course half of the back as well. Now, because there is no adjustments on here that I've got to cut with the fabric, and I can now unpin these panels, and I will then have half my back as well. Okay, so that's half the front and half the back. We can discard those and we can just work with these two panels. Okay, so what we'll be cutting out is two backs and 2 fronts from these 2 panels. Okay, so I've now unpinned the dart. There's no adjustments to be made on this back panel. I've clearly marked what I need to do is add on the 3 centimetres to the length, which I'll be showing you how to do that in the next video when we put this on the proper fabric. So that's clearly marked there. So we've now used this panel. All I'm going to do is press this in a moment. So what I need to do now is I need to unpick now this stitching line for the dart and also the front. So I'm going to go ahead and just unpick this. Okay, just unpick this quickly. Okay, now I did it on a longish stitch, so it's very, very easy to do. Okay, so I'm just going to unpick all this along here, and I'm also going to take out this collar piece as well, okay? And just, you can easily do that with the unpicker, as you can see. It's very, very easy to do. Like that. Okay, so we've got that. So we need to keep our collar piece. Okay, we've got that. So I'm just going to unpick all of this along here. I'm going to unpick my dart as well. I'm going to give this a press, or both panels a press, and then we can go on to the next stage, where I'm just going to show you briefly and quickly these parts here, what we're going to be adjusting, ready to go onto our actual fabric. Okay, now I've given all of my panels a press. I've taken out all of the stitching lines on the darts and the front here, and I've pressed my panels flat. Now the back panel, as you can clearly see, I've got my dart marked in, which we did right from the very beginning, so that's there. And I've also got here clearly marked, add 3 centimetres to the length. Everything else is completely in proportion. The neck, the shoulder, the arm side here, and the side seams, all are completely in proportion. There's nothing else to adjust on this part. So I'm happy with that. All of the information that I need is on this toile piece. So we can discard this until we need to use it to cut out our proper fabric. So we can just take that away. Now, let's have a look at our front panel. Again, we've got our dart in here. We've got clearly marked here, add 3 centimetres to the length. And we're going to add 5 centimetres here. And we're going to taper it to this point here. But of course we will be adding. So we're going to literally cut out our fabric like this, further down, and then taper it round like that. So it's like adding a complete new piece on there. Now, if you want to, you can basically stitch a piece of calico or your toiling fabric onto there, redraw it, if you're adjusting like that, and then you are happy that you can basically see what you have adjusted before you put it on the fabric. Or you can do it like me, where you're going to put this on the fabric and then you're going to cut it as you go. So you're going to put the adjustments in place as you cut the proper fabric. Now, I'm also going to add 3 centimetres here to the actual front length. So what's going to happen is it's going to widen our waistcoat. So we're going to add 3 centimetres, and of course, because this is the lapel, we're going to be adding 2 centimetres in width, and then it's going to be tapered down. So all of this will be tapered in according to our measurements here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer these markers here onto the front here. So we're going to lower this by 2 centimetres. So let's just mark that on our toile here now. So lower this 2 centimetres, like that. Okay. And now that we've done that, we can just cut this like that. So that is now our lapel load. Very, very simple to do. And we can also put in, we just put this on here and mark in our notch. Okay, the notch for our collar. So we can just mark on here the notch point. Okay. Now I'm also going to add on 2 centimetres and taper. So again, just have this, add 2 centimetres and taper. So add 2 centimetres, just put an arrow there, and we're going to be tapering it down to there. Okay, so with this information I know what to do to transfer it onto our proper fabric. So that is our front panel now adjusted. All we need to do is basically adjust this collar piece as well. So our notched part was there, and we need to make sure that this part here, there's going to be enough length. Okay, so let's just have a look on there. So this part here, we need to make sure that there's going to be enough length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just redraw another, let's have a look, we should be able to get it in here. Yeah, there, okay, on there like so. So let's just redraw another collar part. Okay, so we've got this now on there. There's the notch part. Notched. Okay. But I know we've got to add on a bit of length. So that actually should go on there like that. So it's important that this part will fit in there. So I'm going to add on just a small amount on there. Let's add on another centimetre. Okay, it's going to be a little bit too long, but it's best to have your collar part a little bit too long than too short. So we're just going to add a 1 centimetre to there. Okay, so let's just transfer that on there, and we're just going to add on another centimetre to our collar part here. Like that. Okay. See, this is the beauty about curtain lining, a very, very light curtain lining, because you can just easily draw and transfer and alter patterns. So simple to do, and it's really, really easy to do as well. So let's just cut this new collar piece out. There's our added centimetre added on. Like that. So that's our notch part, which goes there. So that will fit. Hang on, let's have a look. Yeah, that will fit in there like that. Okay, so we've got our seam allowances, as you can see. So that's going to easily fit in there. And this part, with our seam allowances, now it's going to easily fit. This one here would have been slightly too short, as you can see. With the seam allowances, as you can see, we've got here, that would be too short as a gap. But this one here, with the notch part, that goes on there, like that, we can clearly see that we've got enough length here. And our collar is going to fit really nicely in there. So I'm very, very happy with that. That's nice. Now, of course, if you're adding 2 centimetres here, yeah, we might have to adjust the notch point here as well, and then also lengthen the collar again. But we can see what we're going to be doing with that when we adjust it and we put it on the proper fabric. The actual shape of our main fabric panels is here, okay? We might have to do another slight adjustment to our collar piece. But of course, what I'll do is I'll cut out the main panels, and then I will then adjust the collar part with calico on the actual main panel, as we're doing like this. So it's a lot easier, so that when you come to cut it out on your proper fabric, you're not using up and wasting a lot of the actual fabric that you're using. So we're going to be cutting out the main panels, and then I'll be doing my adjustments by cutting out pieces of calico for the collar. And then when I've got the correct size for my collar in the calico, or the toiling fabric that I'm using, we can then transfer that onto our actual fabric, okay? So it might sound a little bit complicated, but you'll definitely see what I mean when I start cutting out my toile in the next video. So that's exactly where we are at this moment in time. We've got all of our adjustments in place, we know where we are with our panels, and we're going to be cutting out our fabric panels from our main fabric. So I will see you in the next video.